I want to go over some potential college football playoff teams this year. And I know I'm about to list 16 teams, but obviously Alabama is number one. The team to keep an eye on. Georgia as well, since both made it last year. But if Georgia could take a little step back defensively to the point they could lose a regular season game. They could. They even have, if they are a one-loss team prior to the SEC championship game, and they lose to Alabama, they're out. It's clear as day. But Alabama, as long as I think they're going undefeated this year, getting into college football and winning the SEC championship game, then they're in a college football playoff. Obviously, if both of these teams are one-loss teams at the time when they play, loser of that game, you're out. Ohio State and Michigan from the Big Ten is the next possibility. I'm only saying Michigan if they go 11-1 and then win the Big Ten championship. With the doesn't matter who they lose to, as long as they beat Ohio State, as you know. But if Ohio State's lone loss is to Michigan, but Michigan's in the Big Ten championship game, then it becomes a debate whether or not Ohio State gets in or not. I don't know. But obviously, if both these are in it, they can't play each other in the Big Ten championship game. But, I expect that division of Ohio State and Michigan to win over the Big Ten West. If I'm being completely honest. Though Purdue is dangerous, don't get me wrong, as a potential, or in Iowa, but Iowa struggles on offense, so I don't know. Or Wisconsin even. But I don't think so. For the Pac-12, like Utah, USC, and Oregon, all these three teams could do it, and two of them with first-year head coaches. But Oregon has to play Georgia, then hit the run the table. The likelihood for that happening, I think, is slim. I'm only mentioning it as a possibility. They possibly, but Utah could go 11-1 or 12-0 this year. They're that good, in my opinion. Same goes for USC, but USC has to. The defense is going to be the biggest question. Can they make the college football playoff or not? In my opinion, or even make the Pac-12 championship game this year. And as you know, that Utah, if they're a one-loss team and they lose to a two-loss team, they lose in the Pac-12 championship game, they're out. The college football playoff. Now, from the Big 12, the only three teams I could see are Baylor, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. Yes, I'm not including Texas because, first of all, they're going to lose to Alabama. Second of all, they got a tough home game against Baylor. They have to go on the road to West Virginia, to Oklahoma State, and a neutral against Oklahoma as well. And they could even lose to UTSA, and they have 57 underclassmen out of 85 on their roster. I don't see it happening. Oklahoma State could make the college football playoff. They go 11-1 or 12-0. But the biggest thing that's the Achilles heel, I would say, is Spencer Sanders. He's thrown 31 career interceptions. 10 of those to Baylor by that team alone. So that's a really, really big issue. Other than the defense, there's no problems on the defensive line and the offensive line. It's in the skilled positions. Potentially the offensive line could have a little issue, but I don't know how much. The defensive line is really solid for them this year. But it's more like their linebackers and their secondary that I'm worried about, as well as a new defensive coordinator. And another reason why Texas can make the college football playoff, I think, is because the O-line is the biggest weakness on Texas, is on offense. And the defense, I think it's going to improve a little bit, but I don't know how much. Is it enough to make college football playoff? Oklahoma, they could go 11-1 at best. I'm not going to lie about that. But I have they have a difficult home games and away games and trap games, like all these teams listed. And they have a first year head coach after being a long time defensive coordinator at two different schools, Clemson and Oklahoma and Brent Venables. I could totally see them making a college football playoff, though. I'm not going to lie. Baylor could go 11-1 and 12-0 this year. And I gave reasons why in a different video, so check that out. It's a legit thing, though they do have a more difficult road slate. I'm not going to pretend that doesn't exist, as you could tell in that video and all that description, and I'll put that in the description below as well. But obviously the Big 12 champ needs to have a one-loss team as a conference champion or undefeated in their end. No, now if it's a one-loss conference champ and there's two one-loss champs, then it becomes which one's going to get in. If it comes down to one spot, I mean, obviously a 2 losses and you're out with the current format. Now from the ACC, like Clemson, NC State, Miami, Florida. I'm only saying Miami, Florida because if they beat A&M at A&M, then they could just lose one game. And it might be Clemson, but the problem is they're in the same. I don't think they're in the same division, but I don't know if they're going to even. Yeah, they're not in the same division, which is even more helpful as Clemson than Clemson. It's just the problem is they have to play them twice, probably. And can they beat them? If they lose that first meeting, can they beat them in the next meeting? I'm only saying Clemson if their offense improves, especially the quarterback play. That's the number one reason. NC State could go 11-1 or 12-0 because they should be favored in nearly every game. Nearly every game. Though they have to go Clemson at Clemson this year. So, you know. Now, the group of 5, I know this is probably the only team in the group of 5 that could do it. Houston. It's because they could make the case they're going to be the best group of 5 team in the entire country this year. I could see 12-0 for them. But if they slip up just once, they're out of there. It's obvious. Because we know the college football playoff doesn't like group of 5s. And obviously for the ACC, before, they have to be like if there are 2 losses, you're out. If you're 1 loss, questionable. But if NC State's lone loss is to Clemson and Clemson's in the ACC title game, then it becomes a debate who gets in for that final spot, potentially. Now, there is 2 independents on there. And both of those teams have difficult schedules, and they get to play each other. BYU and Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame, as we know, will play the Ohio State University. First game of the year. Can they win out? I think they could, but that last game against USC concerns me. But they should get all their issues fixed by that point on what they're missing, as a question mark going into the year. But I'm not gonna lie though, the schedule is tough, and BYU's schedule is tough. They have Baylor at home. They got Oregon. They got a neutral site against Notre Dame. And they got Arkansas. They got Boise State at Boise State. And yes, I know Boise State wasn't great last year. But majority of the time, recently, Boise State's beat BYU. If you're an independent, you have to go 11-1 or 12-0 to give yourself the best chance. But obviously 12-0 is your best. As we all know, they don't play in a conference championship game and then pray for chaos. So now you have all the teams that I could see. Now it's just a matter of which 4 are they going to be at the very end. Anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys later. Let's get me to 400 subscribers and more by the end of this year.